Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our Etnip Abhiyan's session. And today we have with us Mr. Shreesh Poudel, who will be doing the weekly presentation. For today's topic, we have decoding fiscal policy. And in this topic, we're going to discuss how to write crisp answers and how to write essay in economics. He'll be basically discussing with us the clear structure, giving us original insights and real world examples. And all the necessary things that you need to know about fiscal policy. I would like to give it over to Mr. Shreesh Poudel. So you can show your presentation slides now.
Okay, thank you, dear host. Welcome, everybody. My name is Shreesh Poudel. I am very glad to share my 2 cents of analysis regarding how we could decode fiscal policy so that we can write crisp answers and write crisp documents, maybe perhaps articles or any writing assignment that how we could incorporate the things that are there in the current fiscal policy into our answers, be it for any competitive exams or our regular exams, and write a better answer that's very crisp and that really tries to make an impression on the reader, whosoever it may be. So without further ado, I would like to proceed with my slides. I will be demonstrating some 20 slides from this presentation titled Decoding Fiscal Policy. Hope you guys will have a good learning experience, and feel free to share any queries that you may have regarding how we can look at the fiscal policy from a perspective of deriving some tangible value out of this session. First of all, I would like to iterate few basics on how we could write good answers in economics, and answers mostly of the essay nature, how to write essays on economics. So there must be a clear structure that should be followed in economics. There should be introduction, there should be body, and there should be conclusion. And body could comprise of the 3 or 5 paragraphs where a clear structure could be planned after we see the question and understand the keywords that are there in the question, how we strategize to answer. Because failing to plan is planning to fail, that we must have heard somewhere. And I use this technique even in my current day-to-day activity, wherever there is a writing assignment or a write-up I have to make. Then there is a really good place for being yourself and putting your original instinct or insight that you derive from the data that you present there, and the analysis that you present there vis-a-vis the fiscal policy matters. Further, then it's not ideal to write extreme views in your answers. Always try to balance. We might get emotional when we write, let's say, for example, about King Mahendra's policies. Some of us might get very emotional and go to the extreme length about its, how good it was and how perfect it was, how soil friendly it was. But again, a wiser way is to keep the balance there. And one crucial focus should be to provide value to the audience. Who is reading your paper, who is reading your essay, should derive some value out of it. As if you were to impress a father-in-law, be it a boy or a girl, anyone. Like if you were to impress somebody for some tangible reward or tangible event, then you would rather focus on giving value to your audience with the essay that you have. It's a chance to, impress, make a long-lasting impression on the reader that there's somebody who has done this and that. So that is there. I recall mostly not for good reasons, teachers sharing that what they found in answers, but they really have also shared good reasons for like what they write, what they had found during their paper checking process. Some teachers say like they write, students write songs, and like they remember that, but we could always be remembered for right reasons. And we could have real world relevance of the any analysis that we have, because economics is a kind of a political thing in some way, because it involves various economic actors and the power dynamics between the economic actors and their interaction in the economy as a whole. So we could bring out history if we have a good grasp of history, the economic history, not the history of Bir Gorkhali and that and others that might be there. Not saying anything for the history there, but saying for that we could bring good economic history like of the old times, like and things like that. I personally found anecdote from a paper, from an essay that one of my people was writing about the song Baze Gopalama, something like that. There's no, there used to be coins in the Dalo, and like now even there is not even a single maze. So you might have heard that. So bring history, bring data, bring diagrams, bring flowcharts into your answers to make it to present your analytical skills, and so that you are something, you are worthy uh, of good maths. So that could be there. And then handwriting should be, legible. So you must not be filled with repetition or filler, like anything that could have been avoided, could be avoided, like repeating the same thing in the introduction, same thing in the conclusion, and same thing in the body. There's a way to do that. And well, you all must have practiced and write a lot of essays, especially since you are preparing for economics. Now let's dive into the issue of the fiscal policy. So first thing there's, I would like to highlight as this is a reference. This is anybody. I would love the participants to share what is this. Uh, what is the diagram that has been presented here? Anybody can you know uh, throw it in the chat itself. Uh, okay, so this is a representation of the four-sector economy, and writing the answer and understanding fiscal policy could be, really used. This tool could be used in understanding and writing about fiscal policy, because it incorporates majority of the economic aspects. It covers workforce market, it covers commodity market, it covers the financial market, it covers government, it covers corporations, it covers households, and the interaction between the economic entities that are there. So any policy that will increase savings could be represented somewhere and in some manner. So having this in mind and preparing this before the examination could really increase the chances of securing good marks by demonstrating high analytical quality whenever we write a question regarding fiscal policy or any other thing in economics for that matter, mostly in macroeconomics, because this is a overwhelming overall architecture of the economy, as we could say. And whatever the question may be, there's like how would a policy reaction be there, so that those all things could be interpreted here, and it could give meaning to it. It could beautify, it could enhance the quality of the answer. I don't think I need to delve deeper into this, because we all are good economic students. But to keep it short, starting from the household provides taxes to the government, and And there are the transfer payments from the governments to the households, that is there. Households also provide labor to the workforce market, and workforce market provides household with the wages. So that is there. And there are another entity, corporations are there. There's um, corporate tax, and there is a transfer price to corporations, and there's the labor demand that the corporation makes from the workforce market, and that is there. So short-term savings, what household does could be utilized in the financial market. What government does can also go to the financial market, and what corporation does also go to the financial market. And there's saving, there's tax, there's transfer. G for government expenditure. So all of that things are covered in there. And even from the foreign markets, the savings could be there. But in our economy, are foreigners allowed to save in Nepal? So it's not that open. So maybe let's skip this part, this line, and focus on there. So financial market makes investment in the commodity market, and the commodity market gives yields profit to the corporations. So that is there, and households also consume from the commodity market, and there is import and export relationship with the foreign market. So this is the overall circulation of an economy in the macro perspective. So using this, we could answer any question and explain the relations and interplays between various economic variables that could be there. So broadly, macroeconomic objectives, like what are the famous macroeconomic objectives? So there is economic growth, there is low unemployment, there is lower government borrowing, because maybe perhaps that is there. Minimize inequality, protect environment, exchange rate stability, and satisfactory balance of payments and low inflation. So anything, any question that relates to these things, any question that has these terms there could be answered using the fiscal policy analysis that is there. So interplay of fiscal policy relating to inflation could be there. How would you design a fiscal policy to limit inflation in Nepal? So that's a personal question. How can you, do great work if you were a finance minister or economic minister, as we could say. Yeah, there is one interesting thing, like we call our finance minister Artha Mantri in Nepali. So Artha Mantri would translate to economics minister, but but he's properly called the finance minister. And even the ministry is called Ministry of Finance. So what is there? What's the difference there? Could be another thing of discussion between there. Economics is economic activity, and finance is the flow of the economic activity. It could be measured in financial flows. So that might be the reason why we call it the finance ministry. It's the flow of the taxes, flow of the transfers, and government expenditure. So those could be the reasons why we popularly call our finance ministry, and not the economics ministry. Looking at the macroeconomic indicators, by the way, these is all the references are to be used just before the exam, because we don't know where the exam will be there, or where we will write some paper, when we write some essay. That could be article submission or anything of sorts. So this is a good link to the website. You could just copy this website, or maybe the slides will be made available to you by the EdNet team, and you could just use it. Have a habit of visiting this site, macroeconomic updates. And here are 11 macroeconomic updates that Ministry of Finance thinks are, you need to watch out. These are the macroeconomic indicators. These are what the ministry is looking, and it deems necessary for the public to be able to see. Let me go one by one of the macroeconomic indicators so that we could understand how fiscal policy could, trigger a particular indicator, and how macroeconomic goals that we saw earlier could be utilized, could be achieved. So there's a first and the most important economic growth indicator is the annual target of the GDP. So what's the real GDP at producer's price today? If somebody asks, then we can start with 6,100 billion. So maybe we can note it down on a piece of paper so that we can put it in our memory and lock it. So what's the GDP? If anybody asks, then we can proudly say 6,100 billion and make other analysis based on that. And 6,100 billion will give us 4.61% inflation. And what we can see is the status is on the right leftward arrow. So it's kind of fairly like not that much growth, but it's in the similar line that is there, and it is from the National Statistical Office, and the period it was updated is 30 April 2025. So 30 April 2025 is probably like Baisakh 15, if I'm not wrong. So it's a Baisakh 15 data. So that is there, and this is when it was last updated in the Baisakh 15. So maybe perhaps after the review of the calendar year. So that was the data. So if anybody asks what's the GDP of Nepal, what we would say? We would say it's 6,100 billion, but that is in the Nepalese currency that is there. So this is as per the link of the website, as per the Ministry of Finance data. So that is there. We could keep that in mind. So any participants, it would be lovely if you could share the later 6,100 in the chat, so that it will be it would be easier to remember. Then when we look at inflation, so inflation was, so inflation data is from the 16th May 2025. So if we look at the Nepali calendar, it is more of like, Jet, perhaps, Jet could be there, Jet, starting of Jet or end of Baisakh, that could be there. And what is the current inflation situation? So overall inflation situation is 2.77%. And what's the inflation on the food and beverages? It's 1.52%, and non-food services and non-food and other things. So it's a 3.45%. So we can say we have a very, controlled inflation that is there if we were to analyze our current economic situation. Perhaps a past review of how inflation was could be done. So any of you could, if you are interested in inflation, then you could look at that, like how the inflation has been. And it is actually kind of low, I think, in my opinion. So food and beverage inflation, so food prices has not gone much higher, but there's a minor incremental adjustment. So this is a, not even an inflation, we could say it's a good inflation, perhaps that could be said. Then regarding government expenditure, this is quite interesting. And these all data are from 14th June. So that could be beginning of Asar, let's say. Beginning of Asar, it could be. So till the data of, Jester. So 1 month before the closing of the financial year, what was the situation then? So total government expenditure was 68.96% done from the budgeted level, targeted level as the percentage of annual target. So only 69% was utilized in the 11 months, could be a fair estimate to say that. And how is the structure among the recurrent expenditure and capital expenditure and financing, which are considered as the 3 pillars of the fiscal policy from the expenditure side? So recurrent expenditure was paid 75%, around 75% of that was recurrent expenditure, and capital expenditure was only 40%. So this is something there. Even if we had high target of capital expenditure, as most of us would feel that it would be really low. And when we look at the financing, then it's a 78%. So in the current fiscal policy, the planned capital expenditure and planned financing is balanced. And the last time that was, even in the plan, we had a higher financial payments. So we're paying more interest than we're investing on ourselves. So that was there. And when we look at the real picture, what was the actual, then the thing is more serious, that there is only 41% of the capital expenditures utilized in 11 months, and 78% is utilized. And perhaps it's a double what capital expenditure was done, more was done in the payment of loans, in the way of payment of loans. So that was there. And there's a general remark that is there, like this was greater than 8.8% from previous year, 3.6 than the previous year, and 7.2 from the previous year. Pardon the spelling error here, no worries, that happens. So don't be scared to make spelling mistakes in exams. That's also there. And financing expenses are 28.8% growth than previous year. So we have been very good at paying loans. That could be there. And overall, planning to, actualizing efficiency has improved, that we could say. Overall, it has improved by 8.8%. And if we look at the capital expenditure, it has improved by 7.2%. So that could be one thing to carry whenever we write answers and give weight to that. And if we look at the GDP and if we look at the total expenditure, we could say, we could draw more inferences if we play with these numbers. So that's why I was suggesting you write the numbers in your paper or in the chat that is provided to you. Then coming on to other fourth indicator that ministry thinks is important. So is the revenue mobilization. So how government collects revenue so that it can make the expenses that we studied last time. So total revenue collected was only 1,000 billion, we could say. We could write around and not worry about other things. So that would be there. But if you write accurately that, then wow. So again, this was till end of Jesta. So that was there. If we look at the government expenditure, it was 1,200 around. If we do it round off, it was 1,300 billion, and we made a total revenue of only 1,000 billion. So this is 300 billion worth of deficit, that we could say. So this tax revenue is almost everything is tax revenue, 918 billion. VAT is 302 billion. Customs duty is 207 billion. Excise duty is 161 billion. So how it is distributed? Income tax is, 242.4 billion. And that is there. Sorry, this is the total tax revenue. Tax breakup is there. Value-added tax is there, and custom duty is there, excise duty is there, income tax is there, and educational service tax is there. So if we look at total taxes, how much of total taxes is being collected from the value-added tax? So it's fairly around like, one third of the taxes is the value-added tax, the tax. 1/3 of the tax revenue of the government is value-added tax. And custom duties is also 200 billion. Like if it's 2 by 9 is out of the total revenue, we could say it's a 20% is from the customs duty and 30% is from the VAT, like, because it's near to 1,000 figures, so we can make easier analysis and have that in our mind. How much VAT is there, VAT is collected 30%. So even if we don't actually pay taxes that we feel only the income tax, and income tax is only the 24% of the total revenue that was collected. So in general, total people paid more VAT than income tax. So that was the thing. And educational service tax is all 3%, and non-tax revenue is 10.9%, we could say. So that is there. So from these, we can make further analysis. How is our taxing policy working out? Because this is not what was planned. This is different from what was planned, but this is what is in the actual. Maybe perhaps there's not much change. We could say like it's difficult to change how what's the composition of that is there. To have in mind, we can say that is 91% we collect 92% we collect from the tax revenues, and 98 and 0.98% we collect from the non-tax revenue, and then the analysis could be there. 30% we collect from VAT, which is the highest. Then we have the income tax, which is 24%. Then we have the custom duty. Then we have the excise duty. Then finally, we have the educational services tax. This is the distribution of revenue of the government of Nepal. So that is there. Looking at the debt liability, so this is also of some interest because there's commonly used term that each individual has maybe 26,000 loan or like 48,000 loan. So that's a commonly heard about term. So if we look at that, the net outstanding domestic debt is the government's obligation to the domestic economy. So that's the domestic debt. So there's 1,200 billion. So as much as the total revenue. And that is there. And outstanding foreign debt is 13 billion. So that's a double, I think, if we add the two. Net outstanding is 26 billion. So, sorry, 26 hundred 2 trillion. I think we can easily say that, like 2.6 trillion. So that's their outstanding debt, given 1 trillion of revenue collection. So that's there. Some of us who are from the accounting background could really look at this and say for 2.6 trillion of capital, external capital, there's a revenue of 1 trillion. So that's there. And if there is a number on the GDP, then it's a 43% of our GDP we have leveraged it. And GDP was 6,100, sorry, 6.1 trillion, we can say, or 6,100, we can say. So coming to next, I would skip on the monetary survey because this is again mostly related to monetary policy. But monetary policy is a tool of fiscal policy, and I think monetary theorists would disagree on that, but it is what it is. And there's huge broad money circulation greater than the GDP. That is there. Narrow money, if we look at, then there is it's quite equivalent to the total revenue that is there. So these are just numbers. So, and any interplay, any understanding, further analytical would be the interaction of these variables, these ratios that could be there. When we look at foreign trade, another important matter, another matter that covers our questions. So total export, we have 24 billion, sorry, 247 billion. Export to India, we have 200 billion. So we are very highly reliant on exporting to India. That is clear from here, how much we export to India. Maybe useless of our hatred towards Indians, that could be. So export to China is only 3 billion. export to other countries is also 44 billion. So that is there. And if we look at the import, so from 240 to it's a 1600. So there's a huge jump is there. And import from India is 977. Import from China is, we import like more than 100 times from China, right, than how much we export to China. So according to Trump policy, we would have to levy a tariff of 100%. So that's that. And import from other countries is also huge compared to that. But we have a very good, in comparison, we have a better position with trade balance position with India, because if we say this is a 1 to 5 ratios there, like it could be fair to say for 1 rupee export, we have 5 rupee import, that's there. But if we look at other things, then export to China is like for 1 rupee export, we have a more than 100 rupee import from China. That is there. And our trade balance is, wow, very negative. So 1397 billion of trade balance is there. So this is the total revenue of the government is 1000 billion, and we have more trade imbalance. So that is there than the revenue collected by the government. So 13 and 61 is our GDP. So we can do the math. It's around 25%. Last time I checked. 13 full, let's say 14 divided by 61 could be, that's could be computed in the head itself. And, wherever you calculate that and put it in your paper so that you can easily memorize it next time. Moving further, the current account position is given in both $1 million and billion Nepali rupees. Overall BOP position, $1 million and Nepali rupees. So interestingly, we have a surplus. Even though we have a very bad trade, we have a surplus, all thanks to the almighty remittance flows that is there. So 13 billion, we have a remittance flow, you can see. And just around a little bit more, we have a export. So that is there. So perhaps that has balanced the current account. So current account balance is 255 billion. And that may be the reason thereof. But this data is from 16th May. So before that, so till the Basak end data is there, you can see. So remittance inflows is there. Remittance inflow is 1300 billion, like we have 6100 and like 1300. So 20% we could say that is there. So coming to foreign X reserves, we have like Forex reserves, we have 2.5 trillion of Forex reserves, like a good amount of there. If we divide the trade balance that we have in the 11 months, this data is till 11 months. So we could compute that we have sufficient reserves for facilitating merchandise import for 17 months. We have annual target is of 7 months. We have 10 months more of import. So maybe perhaps a policy should have been to leverage this forex and maybe make more import and import things that would really push the employment. That could be there, because we are and also the export performance. We have to import things to enhance our export industries, perhaps. Maybe more with the China thing, because China we have 1:100 trade imbalance, and India we only have 1:5 balance. So maybe this data changed some original belief that we had regarding our trade performance, our country's trade performance. Moving further to the budget. Budget is the summary statement of the fiscal policy. So you can find budget in Ministry of Finance. There's data and there's the Prakasam section. And in the Prakasam section, there's budget bhaktabya. That means budget speech. And you can download budget speech from there. So yeah, I would like to request everybody to give it a go and download the original budget. And please put in the chat after you download the budget for the current year. You could download the English one, you could download the Nepali one, anyone, and say that you have downloaded and put that information in chat. Anyone who's the pace okay? Like
all the participants can also leave their questions, any feedbacks, anything you want to say in the chat box. We haven't received anything yet, but as the session is going, we can take your questions.
yeah, anything, anybody like if you can find and download the budget speech, then that will be splendid. And I could move further after that. It's like interval of the session.
I think we have 4 to 5 more slides to go, sir.
And we have 10 more slides.
Okay, okay.
So we are in the, mid.
Intersection, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if anyone has downloaded the budget and
So I think we have a question here. Where should Nepal align more towards China or India in order to have a great economic status?
well, that's a very good question. Like I would like to, because this is a very normative question that is there. So there's no much of a standard answer to that. Anybody could have a answer of their own. But what data says is we have a more trade imbalance with China. Like for every 1 rupee of export, we import 100 rupee, more than 100 rupee from China. But for India, we have a good performance. For every 1 rupee, we only import 5 rupee. So based on that, like there is very much room to improve with China. We can say that we can put the arguments there like that because of that there's a huge scope of exporting to China because of the 1:100 ratio that is currently there. If you look at the items that specifically we import to China, then we could really look at how we could increase those items and what other ways could be what is the demand in the China, what particular things are demanded in the China that we could produce. So that could be one way if we support the China. If we support the India, then we already have some competencies that makes the trade imbalance just 1:5 compared to China, where 1:100 is there. We know more about Indian economy, and if we studied more of the Indian markets, then we could export more of the things to India and improve our trade balance. And when we export, what happens is we produce. There's a rise in the GDP when we export it because we have to produce it. And when there is a production, a lot of people get wages, capital get paid with interest. There's the rent payment. There's whole economics they're going after. We produce for the export demand. So that is there. So we could argue both sides. I will not pick any sides for today. And we could present such analysis, and that could really increase the depth of the answer. Hope I answered for Mr. Bhole Baba.
Okay, thank you, whoever that was. I'm pretty sure Bhole Baba is not the real name, but thank you for your question. I think we can proceed, sir.
Okay, if anyone could say like they could find the budget speech or not, because this is what I intended at least to impart today. So if anybody could like put in the chat if they were able to find the budget speech from the Ministry of Finance site, like since we're decoding, we should know where is the raw material. So raw material is in uh, the Ministry of Finance website. So if there is any problem in downloading, like you could say like the simple Google prompt would work here, perhaps. Anyone, at least one participant? Can anyone just try to download?
Can you all respond? If you're able to download that, you can leave it. Yeah, okay, I think we have an answer. Dilip just said I did. We have one more. Okay.
Yeah. So thank you guys for downloading that. So after downloading that, you could have opened it, and I would like to suggest these are the things like what is the context, what is the content of the budget speech, what is that? So if you have downloaded the English version, then I found that they didn't include the annexes. So the real data is in the annexes, like how much amount is estimated where and where is that. So that is there. And how to use in examination, we could use the data as well as the program names and the relations that the approach that we explored when we were seeing the macroeconomic indicators. So that is there. And if you have any sectoral interest, like I am interested in agriculture, I'm interested in hydropower, then you could really look at the specific sectoral programs that are initiated. And since you are interested in that, you remember that and you might use it. Be it in any kind of question relating to macroeconomic objectives and how we can achieve those macroeconomic objectives through fiscal policy. So that is there. Government plans to do this, name of the program this, and that could be there. So if we look at the content, so there's the current status of the economy is there. If you guys look at the budget speech, if I can open the budget speech, then I think that would add more value. Yeah. Is this visible? Uh, Dear host, can you confirm if this? I have downloaded the budget speech for year 25-26, and here is my slide that is there. So what's in the budget? First thing that is there in the budget is the current status of the economy. So let's find that in the budget. So where is it in the budget document itself? Current status. So first is the finance minister addresses to the parliament, and he says like, I'm very honored and things like that, and he reiterates prosperous Nepal and happy Nepali. So this is the theme of the current government that is there. And then coming to the current status, so it says the what's in the current status is there of the economy. So first content is that. Then similarly, there is the what are the economic challenges of Nepal. So what ministry thinks there's the economic challenges of Nepal. Maybe we agree to that or we don't agree to that, but that is what ministry thinks. And if I delve a little into it, then ministry is concerned about the AML dual listing that is there, agricultural productivity, which is low, is in the headache of the government that is there, and other things are also mentioned here that's relating to the industry. Maybe like I would read this like if it's not that boring. So what the government is thinking. Government thinks agricultural productivity remains low and farming remains unattractive to the youth as the expected improvement did not materialize in the traditional farming systems. The limited use of innovation and technology, low productivity and high production cost have adversely affected the manufacturing sector to contribute to national income as anticipated. A decline in aggregate demand has hindered the industrial sectors to operate at full capacity. Investment in physical infrastructures has not been adequately reflected in the expansion of economic activity, hence failed to contribute to growth in production as desired. So adverse effect of climate change, inadequate digital infrastructures, country's labor market and skills remains unmatched. Necessary manpower in the industrial and construction sectors is being supplied from abroad. Lack of generating sufficient employment opportunities domestically has led to worrisome trend. This is what the government has accepted, and we could always use these challenges in our answers to give it a boost. So you can look at this. There's the challenges that government thinks is there. Then after the challenges, then how the minister is committed to address those challenges is there. And then there's the object and priorities of this budget program is there. And there's the detail of fiscal transfers as per constitution, because fiscal transfers among the federal, provincial, and local governments is there. Budget allocation and resource management estimates is there, which is could be considered as the budget statement, one page document that says it all. So that is there. So we will look into it in the slides itself. So there's revenue policy and programs are there, and there's sectoral programs. Like there's I think 25 sectors that has been identified. One is about the modernization in agriculture and transforming the economy. There's the land management, cooperatives, and poverty elevation. That's the second agenda. There's industry, trade, and investment promotion, and tourism infrastructure and heritage conservation, and finally for forest and environment. So there are 25 sectors that are there, and there are various programs that the budget plans to do in these sectors. So if anything is of your interest, then you could dive into that and look at it. Annex, where the real data lies and where things rise from the surface of the economy. Okay, so in the annex, there is the revenue and expenditure statement, and there is not only the revenue and expenditure for the budget, but there is for the 2 years. One is the last year, 80-81, then the current year that is going, that is 81-82, and the plan for the 82-83, because budget comes on 15th of Jester, and then the figures are adjusted to revise the estimate that had been used. So we can look at 3 years of fiscal policy when we look at that. So first one is the actual 2 years hence, like T-2. T-1, you could say, is another, and then the current period, or how do we plan, like in the forward. That could be. Perhaps it's better to say T-1, T, and T+1. That could be there. So there is revenue estimation detail from the types of revenue, and that is there. And through admin reform, this is very interesting. Government plans to collect more taxes through doing good governance, like doing better governance, that is there from the admin reform, we could see how much amount is considered to be collected from the tightening of tax collection process and efficient tax collection process, and then there's how much is from the new sources that has been identified. That is there. Then there's activity wise expenditure, so this is also important. Target and government level, like how much which government does that particular activity and how much is expended on that grounds. So ministry wise expenditure is there, federal, current and capital, that is current and capital is separated. Expenditure categories by source of payments, general and capital expenses is there. It's very important. Uh, change of change from the last year. Expenditure estimation details is there. There's types of revenue. So 80, 81, 81, 82. There's target. There's internal and external source. A lot of things to look at in the annex, but annex is not present on the English translation. You have to download the Nepali translation. Anybody who downloaded the Nepali translation? And finally, there's annexes from the other angles. So gender responsive budget. This is a cool thing to look at. We will look at that. Climate responsive budget, like Nepal budget is very sensitive towards the climate, and it tends to measure how much of its allocations are in climate positive sectors, climate positive activities is there. There's sustainable development goals is there, like how much of the sustainable development goals is catered by the budget. So that is there. And by budget, it's the whole of the economy and the economic ministry being the guardian of the total economy of Nepal. So that is there. And finally, also important is economic KPIs, like government plans. Like this year, there is let's say 1,000 metric ton of rice production. Next year, I'll try to achieve 1,200. So that is there. It's very fun to look at. So that's there. And public debt, foreign aid, administration-wise expenses. So who administers how much is expended by the office of the president, how much by each ministry could see, and maybe perhaps a student of the political economy side could analyze how much of the resources is being allocated, how much of the expenditure is being allocated to which ministry and like which political party has that ministry, and who actually is in the government could be understood, who actually made the um, fiscal policy could be understood from that, because of the higher say in the budget and higher placement of the programs and all. So that is there. If we look at the budget document, then there will be the objectives and priorities of the budget. So the current budget still has the objective to alleviate poverty by achieving high economic growth, generate employment by promoting entrepreneurship, and expanding public and private investment is there. And another objective is to enhance economic efficiency by use of technology, then to maintain social justice through social protection and development there, to promote quality public services and good governance. So those all are the objectives. And what are the priorities, key priorities of the government? Enhancement of entrepreneurship. Government really wants to do that. And if this is a proper list, then it is the most important thing that government is saying it is trying to do, is the enhancement of entrepreneurship, employment, production, productivity, then expansion of investment in yielding and quality physical infrastructure. So quality physical infrastructure is a good thing to see. We could look at how much the government plans its KPIs based on this, and like if the budget is coherent or not. What are they planning to do? Have they made a good plan as to how they would plan? So that's a good analysis to do, which could again be used in our answers. So that is there. Quality improvement in social sector, insurance of balanced development and social security, and citizen friendly services, corruption control and governance reform is there. So that's there. And allocations. So this is generally what budget related discussions cover is this, how much is allocated on what. So it's a budget of 1.9 trillion. That's a good amount. And 1.1 trillion is the total expenditure is allocated for the recurrent expenditure. 407 billion is expended for the capital expenditure, and 375 billion is for the financing. So it might look that now there's more by some 32 billion, I think 32 billion more we have capital expenditure. We are investing than what we are paying in interest. So that is it. It's an interesting thing. And if we look at the earlier slides regarding our performance, then only 41% was the utilization of capital expenditure, while 78% was utilization of the financing expenditure. So it's very interesting to look at what the target the government has made, and the estimation is 5.6% higher than current fiscal year's allocation and 18.2% higher than the revised estimate. So last time what was planned, so we have a 5.6 growth in our plan, but in what actually we had achieved, we have a 18% growth in that we have planned. And a whopping 417 billion. So we could make a percentage out of this. That would be planned for the fiscal transfers is there. So around, let's say 200 and 400, we could say, like average it out, and let's say 20% as could be a plausible number. A little more than 20% of the budget is, transferred to the provincial and local levels. So that is it. And we are saying like we are decentralized because only 20% of things are transferred. So this could be good analysis to continue on. And of the total estimates regarding financial sources upcoming fiscal year, 31.3 trillion will be financed through revenue. Revenue will be collected 1.3 trillion. So what was the current revenue collection? So it was 1,000 billion. So in the 12 years. So there's a 30% extra that has to be done in the coming year. Maybe sort of achievable is there. I don't know. How do you think? Like, we comment on that as well. And another foreign grants is there, and deficit is there. And to cover this deficit, foreign loans will be raised. Foreign loans, again, they might increase the interest payments in the next year. This plan is went through. Then the net remaining amount of 3.62 will be financed from domestic borrowing. So government is going to issue some government bonds and domestic market, which need that. One interesting thing, like the banks are giving lower interest rate, and perhaps this is a way for government to introduce, higher rate borrowings, higher rate of bonds, so that people will rather invest in government than invest in banks. This could be a intersection that our next session will cover. So again, look at the situation. So three things that because we have already covered the macroeconomic indicators, I could just add three more things. So we could look at the additional of 340 megawatt of electricity was generated. Tourist inflow increased by 13%, reaching to 9,23,000. So that's a good number to remember. 923. So that's that. Or we could simply say 9 lakhs, like around 9 lakhs. that would also increase the gravitas of our answers. So year-on-year inflation, I think we had covered. I put this because of the, per capita income. So per capita income is 1443. So 1443, 1443. So that is there, and our target is 1496. Maybe 1500 we could say, like we're targeting for the 1500 GDP. Sorry, per capita income. That is there. The credit rate growth was like 5.8% of the last year, whereas it increases by 7.1% during the first 9 months of the current fiscal year. The same period, deposits of the bank has been increased by 5.7%. Interesting. So credit has increased by 5.8%, but deposits have increased by 5.7% only. And still there is excess liquidity. Interesting. Yeah. Now coming to the annexes, it is available in the Nepali version of the budget Bhaktabya. So anybody who downloaded the Nepali one, please give it Nepali thing.
All right, have we downloaded the Nepali one? Can anybody respond? Okay, we have an answer here. We have a yes.
Okay, so if you scroll down to that and come to Annexus 6, you will see the thing that I'm showing here. This is the expenditure estimates that is there. There is Sadharan general expenses, and there is Vikas expenses like investment, we could say, and there is like percentage of increment is there, how much is increased, and like what was allocated in 81, 82, and how it is allocated now, and what is increased. So in general expenses, it is increased by 3.17%, but in Vikas expenses, infrastructure, and like capital expenses, it has increased by 11.74%. So that is what we can see from here. And what's the amount we can see? These all our figures are in lakhs, so you can interpret accordingly. Can anyone interpret the point number 8? So conditional, capital grant. So maybe this is we can interpret as 22 urban. Yeah. So that is 2.1714% increase. So that is it. And finally, the need go payers and all. So we plan to pay more to the loan by 2.3%. There's something that has decreased drastically, 34% drop, and that is on the financial transfer of the Vittiya Hastantaran Bisis Anudan. So special grant, that is the fiscal transfer of the Bisis special grant has decreased by 34% maybe. This is something to watch out, like Kina, look at it. Okay, since most of the thing is in Nepali, I think I should switch to Nepali. अब यहाँ हेर्न सक्छौँ हामीले सशस्त्र चालु अनुदान पनि हाम्रो चाहिँ घटेको छ हैन. सो करेन्ट अनुदान भनेको जेनरली अनुदान भनेर चाहिँ यो चाहिँ सेन्ट्रलले फेडरलमा पठाउने अमाउन्टहरूलाई चाहिँ त्यसरी डेनोट गर्छ. अब यहाँ यो वित्तीय हैन विकासको लागि गरिने हस्तान्तरण पनि यहाँ चाहिँ हैन 34%ले घटेको छ भनेर चाहिँ यो एउटा कुनै 35 भनौँ 35%ले घटेको छ भनेर एउटा हुन सक्छ नम्बर यहाँनिर. ओके, त्यो अघि नै जुन 1.96 को आएको थियो टोटल, त्यो यहाँ रहेछ हैन टोटल एक्सपेन्डिचर. त्यो चाहिँ के क्याटेगोराइज भयो त? साधारण जेनरल एक्सपेन्सेस एन्ड र पुँजीगत एक्सपेन्सेस विकास र अनि त्यसपछि ब्याज भुक्तान, सावा तथा ब्याज भुक्तान. त्यो त्यहाँनिर त्यसरी भयो. अब रेभिन्यू इस्टिमेट्स हैन, कहाँबाट पैसा उठाउने सोचिरहेको छ भनेर यहाँ चाहिँ हेर्नु सक्नु राजस्व उसले चाहिँ होइन 1480 उठाउने भनेको छ हाम्रो चाहिँ 82-83को लक्ष्य अनुसार 1480 अब उमा चाहिँ झन्डै संशोधित अनुमान भनेको अब हामीले यति चाहिँ उठाउँछौँ होला भनेर चाहिँ गभर्मेन्ट होपफुल छ टिल द इयरिङ होइन असार लास्टसम्म चाहिँ उसले चाहिँ होइन 1267 होइन 1.267 ट्रिलियन होइन त्यसरी भन्दा भयो त्यो चाहिँ उठाउँछु भनेको छ र चाहिँ अब चाहिँ 14.8 उठाउँछु भनेको छ होइन अब यसमा कर चाहिँ 11बाट 13 पुर्याउँछु भनेको छ होइन कति ग्रोथ छ त्यहाँ आफैले हेर्न सक्यो होइन लास्ट 2 इयर्समा हेर्ने हो भने 9बाट 11 भएको छ होइन एक्चुअली त्यस्तो हुँदो रहेछ भन्न मिल्यो होला त्यही हिसाबले 9बाट 11 भएको छ अब 11बाट चाहिँ 13 हुने सरकारमा छ होइन त्यो छ अन्य राजस्व पनि होइन हाम्रो चाहिँ 114बाट 127 भएको छ 154 हुने भनेको छ लगभग कन्सिस्टेन्ट ग्रोथ नै छ यसमा विविध प्राप्ति भनेर चाहिँ यो छैन यो पनि कहीँ चाहिँ कहीँबाट आउने नसोचेको ठाउँबाट आएको भन्ने खालको होला त्यो चाहिँ त्यहाँ छ राजस्व बाँडफाट मार्फत डिस्ट्रिब्युसन अफ गर्दाखेरि कति छ सङ्घीयता कोषमा कति जम्मा हुने होइन 1 देखि 5 को चाहिँ जम्मा हुने त्यो भनेर यहाँनिर छ त्यस्तै यो चाहिँ ठ्याक्क इस्टिमेटहरू छ अनुदान भनेर कति छ भनेर छ सङ्घीय सरकारको राजस्व र अनुदान भनेर छ होइन यो चाहिँ सङ्घीय सरकार हाम्रो सेन्ट्रलको यो छ खर्च कति हुने भनेर छ र बजेटको बचत कति भनेर चाहिँ यहाँनिर यसरी लेखिएको छ यो सबै रेभिन्यू इस्टिमेट हो हामीले यति उठाउँछौँ भनेको छौँ होइन त्यसको चाहिँ के नम्बर्स छ भनेर यहाँनिर छ होइन अब यो ठ्याक्कै नम्बर्स याद नहोला तर कसरी कहाँनिर हुँदो रहेछ र चाहिँ होइन लास्ट इयर कति थियो यो पालि कति छ अनि अब हामीले कति टार्गेट ल्याएको भनेर चाहिँ हेर्नलाई चाहिँ यसले चाहिँ सजिलो गरिदिन्छ है यो चाहिँ अनुसूची 1 नै रहेछ मेन अनुसूची होइन सुरुको अनुसूची अब वैदेशिक अनुदान र ऋण पनि कति एक्सपेक्ट गरेर रहेछौँ कति आश गरेर रहेछौँ भनेर चाहिँ हामीले यहाँ छौँ होइन त्यो चाहिँ हामीले त्यही अनुसार इन्टरप्रेट त्यही अनुसार भन्न सक्छौँ होइन त्यो छ अरू अब यसकै फाइनेन्सियल म्यानेजमेन्ट पार्ट वित्तीय उसमा चाहिँ होइन आन्तरिक इन्टरनल हाम्रो चाहिँ देशभित्रैको वित्तीय सम्पत्ति कति छ भनेर चाहिँ यहाँ छ बाहिर विदेशमा सेयर लगानी गरे रहेछ सरकारले होइन है यो चाहिँ एकदम लगानी गर्न चाहिँ भत्तै बढाउन खोजेको रहेछ विदेशमा सेयरमा लगानी होइन यो पनि केही होला प्रोग्राम होइन जसले यस्तो कम्पेल गर्यो होइन 83 भइराखेको चाहिँ 400 पुर्याउनु छ होइन केही त छ नि त्यसमा के प्लान छ त त्यो होइन हामीले त्यो बजेटको एक्टिभिटिजहरू हेऱ्यौँ भने त्यहाँबाट क्लियर हुन्छ कुल आम्दानी कुल खर्च र यसरी टक्क सेटिस्फाई गराएको चाहिँ छ होइन रकम भनेर चाहिँ यो चाहिँ होइन सो त्यो भएर बजेट चाहिँ 1964 बिलियनको भनेर चाहिँ अघि नै हामीले हेरेका थियौँ त्यही चाहिँ यहाँनिर यसरी देखियो त्यसको हिसाब त्यसको साँठगाँठ होइन त्यो चुडाएर चाहिँ गरेको साँठगाँठ यो सब ओके यति चाहिँ यो भयो कसरी चाहिँ बजेट हेर्ने कसरी उ गर्ने भनेर चाहिँ हामीले कभर गऱ्यौँ सरस्वतीभन्दा बजेटमा के छ भन्ने पनि मोटामोटी आयो होइन अनि अब जेनरली हामीले पहिला हेरिराखेको अथवा चाहिँ यो एउटा मैले एनबिएसएमको देखाउँछु जेनरली बजेट एनालिसिस बजेट भन्दा चाहिँ अब यो अब्जेक्टिभ हामीले कभर गर्ने के प्रायोरिटी छ त्यो पनि हाम्रो कभर भइहाल्यो होइन योमा चाहिँ कति कहाँनिर छ भनेर यो चाहिँ एनबिएसएम भन्ने चार्टर्ड एकाउन्टेन्ट संस्थाले उपलब्ध गराउनु भएको मैले यहाँ चाहिँ सेयर गरेँ अब यो कति पर्सेन्ट के कति भन्ने त्यो चाहिँ मेरो आई क्याची चाहिँ यहाँनिर छ कसरी चाहिँ ग्रो भइरहेको छ टोटल बजेट होइन पहिला 1860 को थियो यो यहाँनिर छ इकोनोमिक ग्रोथ कति अझै भइरहेको छ प्लान कति छ इन्फ्लेसन कति छ होइन यी सबै कुरा चाहिँ यहाँनिर छ यो पनि अनि त्यसपछि बजेटको चाहिँ मेजर हाइलाइट्स के हो भनेर चाहिँ पनि यहाँनिर चाहिँ दिनुभएको उपलब्ध गराउनु भएको छ सो यो पनि हामीले चाहिँ राखेको भयो। पछि मोर अफ यो चाहिँ ट्याक्सेसतिर गएको छ, त्यो हामीलाई रिलेभेन्ट नहुन सक्छ। यो चाहिँ ठ्याक्कै त्यो के छ भनेर चाहिँ यहाँनिरबाट रिफर गर्दा भयो। कसरी हेर्ने भनेर चाहिँ अघि नै मैले सेसन गराएँ। डिकोडिङ हाम्रो चाहिँ त्यो हिसाबले कम्प्लिट भएको छ। Any questions I should take? Your host.
Okay, so are we done?
Yeah.
All right. So anybody questions? I think we had questions earlier. Let me take them. So one of them have asked, as I see in budget, government income sources tax revenue 18.13%, foreign grant 73.67%, internal and foreign debt 8.20%. Are we bankrupt, and how will the government run? Did I understand it wrong? This is by Abhash. I think you can see the chat box. What he's trying to say.
It's a very detailed question. I would rather look it 1-2 times. Okay, it's our plan actually, like government. No. I think there's some incorrect figure that has been referenced. Tax revenue is not 18.3% and foreign grant is not 73.67%. So this is very contestable. Let me show like how much is the revenue, or how much is the plan. Perhaps we can look at here at our slides. We can look. Yeah, we can look at here. So financing, how we are planning to finance. 1.3 billion is from the revenue mobilization. Only 53 billion is from the foreign grants. So that percentage is incorrect, Mr. Abbas. So if that was the situation, obviously we are planning. We would have planned to, rely heavily on foreign grants. So if we look at this, we have 13 billion that is from the tax revenue, tax and other revenues, and only 54 billion, let's say, round of, if we say, is from the foreign grant. In unitary, that would be like only 5% of like what? Not 5%. 5%.
Okay, so I think Abhash has included a source from where he has collected the data.
Well, okay, like let's look at that then. Can you, okay. Okay, so I'm very skeptical about this. Perhaps the data source is, okay, so it's the same NBSN thing. Where is that? Which page number? Like, yeah, if he is referring to this, then there's perhaps a labeling error, or like maybe there's some color blindness or eye fatigue is there. Yeah, tax revenue is 73.67% and foreign grant is 8.20%. And yeah, here you can see. Okay, so they have missed it, I think. If we look at the original source, so I think so we could write correction to NBSM. They have, I think, missed this. If we look at our data, then hour or directly from the budget. Then 1315 is from the revenue mobilization. Yeah, I think that answered the question. 1315 is from foreign grant is not 5345, it is 53.45, like they have jumped a lot. 100 times the foreign grant is reported, and that is still 73.67%. Then you can look at how is the number, even if they are doing it 100%. So it's around like 0.73%. I think we answered that, dear host. So let's move to
Yeah,
another.
I think he has got his answer. Um, I think we're done with all the questions. All right, so there's one more question. What may be the reason behind non-availability of NX in English version?
Well, that we could ask that to the ministry officials, but it's just a translation version, like they have mentioned. It's an unofficial translation, the budget document. So maybe to avoid from some misinterpretation, they have like already taken off the liability. If we look at the English budget, yeah, if you look at the English budget, so they are saying yeah, unofficial translation. So unofficial translation is in the official website, like they are really avoiding any misrepresentation and liability because of any misinterpretation that might be there because of translation, but in normal use scenario, it's quite accurate. Perhaps they should like I would really prefer if there is anybody from the ministry, I would really request if it's possible, publish the Excel sheet on the budget and access. So analysis could be much easier, and it would be much easier to understand the fiscal policy because everything is actually in the annex. There's just words in the budget speech, and the numbers are there in the annexes. Yeah, any further question?
I think that is all for now. That is all for today. I think we should wrap it up because we have less than 5 minutes for the Zoom session to end. All right, I think we don't have further questions. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you, sir. Thank you for such a wonderful, insightful, and detailed session backed up by research and data collection. I think everybody got what they came here for, the answers, and your doubts were also cleared through this chat. And if anybody have further questions, I think sir will be kind enough to like leave his email in the chat box, so maybe people can contact you.
Yeah, surely. Stop it.
Okay, so you can refer to this email. And that is all for today. So is there any parting words you would like to say to us?
Yeah, I would ask you like our the session, and like if you have any question regarding fiscal policy, then I think that would be useful to everybody listening. I would also like to request Mr. Dhiren, if he's available to put any question, like anything, any comment. I would really appreciate that for now.
I think Hiren Rai is not here with us.
Okay, then you have any questions?
No, I think I really liked the entire session. It was very insightful for me. And I think the audience also have no questions any further. So I think we should wrap it up.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity, and it was really fun preparing for this thing. I had been doing it previously, when the fiscal policy reviews and all, but there was some gap in years. So it was really fun to get back to it, if I must say. Uh, really appreciate the questions and the participation and the organization from EdNEP Abhiyan and my dear host. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, sir.